There we go.
There we go.
Hi,
Hello,
everybody.
everyone.
We're going to give everybody a minute to jump on as we go live in the Detox Girls. It is Tuesday afternoon. If you're watching us live, if you're watching us through Facebook on a replay or on YouTube, then maybe it's not Tuesday and you're catching up with us. But we're so excited to have you no matter what day it is. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jill.
I'm Shanna.
And we're the
Detox Girls.
Girls.
I wanted to say it together.
Oh, ready? Okay. And we're the Detox Girls. Oh, you didn't do it with me.
I didn't know. Sorry. We'll get it one of these days. You know, after 2 years, you'd think we get it, but it is what it is.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so happy everybody's jumping on. I'm looking to see what we have here. Okay. Yep. People are starting to jump on. Awesome. Yay. All right. Well, I think we're going to jump right in because today we are talking about Lyme. And, you know, we always go through our research and we think, oh, we can do this in one shot. And it's very clear that this is a very in-depth topic. And so we already know that this is going to be more than one part on the series. But today we're going to do the foundations and really get everybody in tune with exactly how Lyme starts out. So really happy that everybody's here. Of course, we're going to start with the medical disclaimer as we always do. Okay. So this information is provided in this presentation. Any discussion, any posts, any comments are intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended for, nor should it be used as medical care or advice. It should not be used in formulating a diagnosis or medical treatment plan. It is not intended to diagnose, cure, treat, prevent any illness or disease. Please contact your medical physician or practitioner with any medical questions or concerns. The information has not been evaluated by the FDA or any other medical entity. This presentation is for educational purposes only and may only be shared and may not be shared without the consent from the Detox Girls and may only be shared with our consent. So sorry, I want to clarify there.
All right.
All right.
Oh, here we go. Big topic in the world right now. Big topic.
It really is. You know, and I think it's actually bigger than what we even realize, because I think there are a lot of underlying things from Lyme that mimic other things. And we're finding that the Western medicine doctors don't really validate that people have Lyme. They don't test right. We're going to find out a little bit more about testing. So as we go along. So, all right, well, let's just start with some basics. So how was Lyme discovered? So it was first identified in 1975 when there was an unusually high number of cases of arthritis, talking about mimicking stuff, right? In people in around the town of Lyme in Connecticut. And I actually just heard that maybe a month ago. And then I thought it was very interesting in our research. Yep. So most lived in wooded areas, and the symptoms first appeared during the summer. Yep. So Lyme was officially discovered in 1982 by Willy Bergdorfer, PhD. Yep. And the first Lyme disease vaccine, I did not know this, that there was a vaccine. Yep. It became available in 1997. Lyme disease was made laboratory reportable in 1998. And interestingly enough, the manufacturer withdrew the vaccine from the market in 2001. In 2002, the vaccine efficacy study ended and Lyme disease was removed from the list of laboratory reportable findings.
That's really important because a lot of people say, why don't doctors know, or why does it take a specialist to get diagnosed for this or to do a test? And that's because they removed it from laboratory reporting.
Right. Right. So often you have to find a Lyme literate doctor, and they often don't take insurance probably for that reason. I have started to see, I'm not sure that that's accurate today. I can actually find out that answer. I can go back to some of the coding information that I probably still have access to and see if that's something that is still remains accurate at this point, or if the ICD-10 coding now has codes for that.
Oh, that would be good to know. Very
Yeah,
good.
it might not be, it's probably Lyme unspecified or possibly the bacteria. I'm not sure. I will look into that. I'll put it in the comment section when we're done.
There you go. I like it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So how is Lyme transmitted? This is pretty typical information, and I think most people know that, but let's go through it. Lyme is transmitted to humans through the bite of an infected black-legged or deer tick, which is called, when it's transferred from an animal to a human, it's called vector-borne. Early symptoms may include a bullseye rash at the site of the bite. But I want to be really very clear here, because I put a picture of this in my Facebook story, and I had many people reach out to me and say, please be sure that people know that that does not have to happen. And that many people don't ever have the bullseye rash and still have Lyme. And I have a family member that happened to. So that is an accurate statement. So I want to be sure that everybody knows the bullseye rash is an indicator, but is not required and not necessary. And many people don't have that.
I think it depends on the bacteria that causes the Lyme, because it's not just Borrelia. There's a lot of different types of bacterias that are just listed as tick-borne diseases that are the culprit for what they diagnose Lyme as. So I think that has to do with it too, which bacteria, as to if it has that bullseye or not.
Exactly. So also headache, fatigue, like severe fatigue. People get, they're down and out, and fever. So the bacteria enters the bloodstream very quickly, but then it very quickly moves to the tissue. And sometimes we're going to get into this, but it hides. So in addition to having to have the right testing done, sometimes you get a false negative for a reason that we're going to go through.
Yep.
So
that would be really interesting. That's some good info.
Yeah, right. Untreated, the infection can spread and affect joints, the nervous system, the heart, the brain, really anywhere in your body, because it does affect the tissue. It gets deep into the cell, so it can be anywhere.
Right.
Okay, so it's important to know what a spirochete is. So Borrelia burgdorferi and Borrelia mayonnaise, always challenging, are the primary bacteria associated with Lyme disease. However, there's over 300 strains of bacteria that can be associated. This is where it comes in really important, right? Because if we're we're testing those two bacteria, what about all the rest? So this is one of the many reasons why you can have a false negative. And give me 1 second. Clinical diagnosing and differential diagnosing should be used. So you can ask your doctor, I understand that the test came back negative. Is there a chance it's a false negative, because I do have all of the signs and symptoms? So could this be clinically diagnosed Lyme due to my symptoms? And because you're going to know where it hides and how. And so you can take that information to your doctor as well and ask the hard questions.
Very
I love
good.
when we empower people to ask the hard questions.
Yes, that's what we're here for.
Yes, right? Oh, it's amazing. So Borrelia are known as spirochetes, and spirochetes are spiral or cork-shaped bacteria. That's how they dig in. Mm-hmm. They have a life cycle of 89 days inside the human body. However, after they die, new bacteria can be born. That's why they're such little buggers.
Yep.
Not all spirochetes are pathogenic, and not all pathogenic spirochetes are vector-borne, which, again, that means transmitted via ticks and lice. So syphilis and Lyme are both well-known spirochetes. So it's not just Lyme. It could be syphilis also. But I also have to wonder if, Shanna, do you know if our scanners show, I think they show syphilis, right?
I believe so.
I think that's one of the indicators, which is super interesting, because then that to me means perhaps if it's picking up something that's most closely related.
Yep.
So especially if you think perhaps you were bitten by a tick, or that you were exposed by something, or you have a child and you're like, I really don't know why this would come up, syphilis. So it's picking up something that's so closely related.
Yes.
And they're both spirochetes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's what people don't realize, that Lyme is actually classified in the syphilis family.
Yes.
Which syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, which we're going to go over what Dr. Christina thinks about that in just a little bit. But it is a sexually transmitted disease. It also affects the brain, and it's a neurological disease. Lyme is also a neurological disease.
Right.
It affects the neurotransmitters in the brain.
Right, absolutely. And the interesting part is when attempting to kill off spirochetes, these attempts can actually drive them deeper into the tissue. It makes them more difficult to eradicate and more difficult to test for.
Yep.
I think
that's actually really important because I know we're going to talk about testing. I don't know if we're going to get to it this week. We're going to try, but a lot of people say, oh, okay, testing came back, I'm cured, and then they still get sick. And a lot of that is because it drives deeper into the tissue. Antibiotics actually drive these spirochetes deeper into the tissue, and they only kill off the free spirochetes that have not gone into the tissue yet. So we're going to go more in depth over that, but it's really, really important to understand the mechanism there and how that works.
Right. And I think we will get to that today because that's a really important factor to know how they hide, why they hide, where they're hiding.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So this is very interesting. So basically, you are the host. If you have Lyme, you are the host to the Lyme bacteria, and Lyme depletes nutrients. So you could be taking these nutrients, and if you're depleted in them, this could be why, because they are feeding off of it. So vitamins B1, 12, C, D, zinc, CoQ10, omegas, and fish oil. And omegas are really important to understand. So if you have a fish oil that tastes fishy or you have fish burps, that's oxidized. So that actually leads to oxidative stress and free radicals in the body.
Yes. I've actually heard Dr. Dory talk about that instead of fish oil, it's better to do, is it seal oil?
Seal oil? That could be. There are omegas in the Relive greens.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually, most of this list is in the Relive greens.
Yes.
In food-based all natural. So if you're new with us, so Jana mentioned Dr. Christina. So let's go through for anybody that's here.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's okay. We have a lot of people that have been in the group for a really long time. They join us every week, but we always have new people and we welcome them. And so let's just go through that just real quickly. So Dr. Christina Rom is our friend, and she is a nanobiotechnologist. She's PhD, PsyD, EDD. PsyD is really important because we do need to get, probably not this week, but next week, to the psychological effects and the neurological effects, cognitive effects of Lyme and how that can affect the development of the brain. But it's really important because that's really where she started in all of her training. But she is also a Lyme survivor and cancer survivor. And so she had Lyme because we're going to play a clip and she's going to talk about it, but she's a Lyme survivor. And so she knows exactly. So Shanna and I love the research and we love to bring you all of the how and the why, but Dr. Christina comes from a place of empathy because this was her life. She is a Lyme survivor also, which is where we're getting a lot of our research that we're bringing you and making sure that we are covering everything that she's talking about as well. So then I mentioned also Relive Greens. So Dr. Christina is the scientific formulator for Root Wellness, and her products are patented. Some are patented, some are patent pending, but she formulated these products for her own Lyme and cancer, for her own family. She has a very long line of illness and disease in her family. So it was really important for her to create the best, the highest quality, the best products, what her family needed in order to stay well, get well, and stay well.
Right.
So if you're new with us, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background because shortly here we're going to play a little video and now you'll know who she is and the why behind her. So let me finish this list really quickly. Alpha lipoic acid, chlorella, magnesium, glutathione, olive leaf, probiotics. And Lyme is very damaging to the neurological system, especially of children, of everybody, but especially of children as well.
Yep.
Good to know.
All right.
Okay. So when the Lyme spirochetes enter the bloodstream via the tick's bloodstream, they go right for the tissue. And then they invade the cell. So that's the heart, the brain, the intestines, the joints, the nervous system. They head straight for it and they burr right in. I want to say that I saw that it was like, they said, oh, within 15 days, but then I saw really within hours.
Within hours, yep.
Within hours, yes. So the cell offers the nutrients and the resources to the bacteria, while they in turn invade and destroy the cell. And then they replicate inside of the cell, which becomes intracellular bacteria. That's why these are like, they're buggers. It's a bugger. This is not, and we know that from a lot of people in our group, this is not an easy one to take care of.
No. And we are literally, we're going to get into this with Dr. Christina, but the more heavy metals and the more toxicity that your body holds, the more proliferation of the bacteria that you actually have in the body, because it feeds off of it. So if you can lower your toxic load, but you have to do it very, very carefully with Lyme. You have to do it very specifically, and it has to be targeted in a certain way, such as like the human monoclonal antibodies that they give people right now. Those were actually developed to target certain cells, the bad cells, but to leave the good ones alone. And Dr. Christina was actually part of the process of creating the human monoclonal antibodies. And so whenever she created her formulas, she takes what pharma does with pharmaceuticals, and because she's one of only 20 people in the world that know how to do it, because there was one program ran in Harvard. There were 20 people allowed in it. She was one of 20. The other 19 people were people from the pharmaceutical companies and from the military, and they were learning bioweapons, and they were learning how to do, it was her bioengineering degree. They were learning how to do bioweapons against different countries, against each other. Dr. Christina is the only one that took the information on how they create bioweapons so that she could almost like reverse engineer it on what they're trying to do to the body. She actually reverses it and using natural means to actually remove it. So with the human monoclonal antibodies, which she helped create, she created her products to be able to go in and actually naturally select the bad cells, leave the good ones alone, to know how to target heavy metals and the bad bacteria and actually remove it from the body while regenerating the cell at the same time. And with Lyme, that is so, so important, because if you're not regenerating at the same time and you're not removing just the bad cells, you're actually going to cause more damage, which is why some people get really, really bad, because they just, they go off of something they saw in a group or something they saw, marketing they saw online, and it's actually not specifically created by somebody who knows how to target Lyme.
Right. And I think often we get one piece to that puzzle and we see, oh, somebody used, something to kill off something or something to remove something, or they see one small piece and they forget that there's an entire puzzle. Yes. And there's a reason why Dr. Christina formulated each thing, each step, to be sure that so it's not just about detoxification and eradicating the bad. It is about supporting along the regeneration path back. And
exactly.
So one of the things that people talk about all the time, and it seems to be confusing for people, is detox pathways. So we actually have a video on detox pathways. You can search that in the Facebook group or on our YouTube. But it's important to know that if your detox pathways are not open and you're killing off bacteria, Lyme bacteria, and you're not effectively removing that from the body while supporting the regeneration of the body, that you can be doing more harm than good. And that's where I have a Herx reaction or I have detox symptoms. So you have to be having consistent bowel movements 2 to 3 times a day. You have to be sure that you're urinating, that you're sweating, that you're able to breathe, because your lungs are a detox pathway, your skin is a detox pathway, kidneys, your bowels. So it's really important to make sure that those are all moving as well, and that you have the right pathway out of the body, which we're going to cover. Otherwise, you can create more damage than good, than healing. Right. Yeah.
Right. And we will be putting in Dr. Christina's personal detox in her own protocol that she used for her Lyme. So we do have Dr. Christina talking about that. So that will drop in the group this afternoon.
Yes. Okay, so as the spirochetes hide inside of the cell, they're shielded from antibiotics and the natural immune system. More than one way. So they're in the set, they're intracellular, so that's one way, but and we're going to get to the reasons why they are hidden inside of the cell and sort of untouchable. But they can also lie dormant for periods of time. And then they can reappear if you are sick or under a lot of stress or you have an injury. So, people with a car accident or a death in the family or a toxin put into the body, that can reactivate the Lyme as well. So that's very important to know. Okay, so I think if you want to go back one, I think we were going to play Dr. Christina's video here because she's going to start out. Yeah, she's going to give us the overview, and then we're going to pick up where she left off with a little bit of extra information in our next slide. But we knew that this was really important, coming straight from Dr. Christina Rahm. So Lyme and cancer survivor, PhD, PsyD researcher, nanobiotechnologist. Her formulations, she uses, multiple different things, but QNet, which is quantum nano emulsion technology, which is why some of the products that she has work differently than if you were to buy them separately. So again, we're back to, you're in a group and somebody said, oh, I bought this and it worked for me. She took everything that was needed in the right amounts, in the right catalysts, in the right nano emulsion technology, so that it works bioavailably in the body. The body doesn't have to break it down. It's already broken down for the body. And she presents it in a nice little neat protocol package because it's what she uses. So she knows. So are you?
Yep.
I had the ability, and because I've had Lyme disease, don't think I don't ask about Lyme disease everywhere I go, because it's something that impacted my life. I mean, at one point I thought I was going to die. And I also at one point thought, I don't care if I die, because I was so sick. And I lost one of the things that was the most important thing to me, which was my ability to think. Yeah. And the second thing I lost that was really important to me was my energy. It's really easy to give up, and it's really hard to talk to people about it because you don't want to be negative, but the reality is the reality. I need to be around people that have experienced what I've experienced, because I don't have anyone to talk to. Because I'm a scientist, I worked on formulas that my goal was Lyme disease. And my goal was, and actually, I don't even want to say it's Lyme disease. It was being able to feel okay to get up out of bed and do the goals and mission that I feel like I have in life. And my mission in my mind is to heal and love. And the reason I think that's the case is I had Lyme disease. Before I had Lyme disease, my life was pretty great. And I will say after Lyme disease, I ended up even in college after that, being a student government officer and homecoming, paneling. I was very involved, right? But I also wanted to sleep sometimes for 16, 18 hours. Mm-hmm. And I didn't talk about that, but I had this past where, because I had Lyme disease and kept getting sick, because I did go back into the hospital and have other issues through those years, they didn't believe in Lyme disease. They said there's nothing wrong. And another thing, so I was in 20 years old. So 19, I got it when I was 19. I believed then, I remember having the discussion with the doctor, that it was sexually transmitted. I believe it is. There's people that say it's transmitted to the children. I absolutely think it can be. There's such a division there. And I don't know if it's actually gotten that much better. I think the knowledge of Lyme disease has gotten better. Yeah. But I'm not sure the acceptance has gotten better. I believe it's an environmental factor that causes these autoimmune disorders. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the issues is people get Lyme disease and then they have other autoimmune disorders or cancer, and no one's connecting that they're related. But I will tell you, so one of the products I worked on was Clean Slate, and where I really, selfishly, one of my goals was to feel okay. I really believe that when you have these biofilms and you have the spirochetes, I believe as a scientist, your body holds on to more heavy metal. I believe your body holds on to more toxins in the body because it's an unhealthy environment. It's kind of like if there's a storefront and someone throws a rock through it, then everyone can get into the storefront. Everyone can rob everything because it already had a rock go through it and it's broken. And I think Lyme disease is a lot worse than what people think and that they're willing to admit. But for me, it's been something that it doesn't go away, but there's long periods of time it gets better. And I think that there's times that I have had like a 3 to 4 month period and I'll just think I'm fine and forget about it. And then it hits me, not being able to walk. This is going to sound so I start getting very tired and very sore, like I have the flu. And then like, I honestly, like when I get out of bed, I have like pin like on my heels and my feet and it hurts to even like my wrist to even be touched. It hurts. And I become emotional. Like I want to cry. I just want to, hide. And my personality is not like that because I love being around my kids. I love being around my family and friends. But for me, it's hard because I don't believe people understand. And I don't believe it's something, at least in my community, that's socially acceptable to go out and talk about a lot. I took some zeolites and I'm really big into silicas or the silic acid, aluminosilicate. If you look at the orthosilicates, there's all different kinds of stuff under it. Benzonite's one of them. I know it's kind of odd because you also have arsenic and fluoride that are part of those classes. But if you can get the right product made in the right way to really be able to detox the body. Sometimes I wake up and think, we just talked about this a little while ago. I just can't do this, right? I don't feel good. What if something ever happens, God forbid, and I'm not here? What do I want to give back to help people? Like, do you know that sometimes, this is horrible to say, but when I'm having a flare, I'll think, where am I going? And, my kids laugh about it and I joke too because I don't want to get upset. But the truth is it's from Lyme disease. So I have been in a lot of societies in my career, from the American Oncology Organization Society to NAS, the neurosurgeon. I've been a professional member, a researcher, American Dermatology Association, a lot of them in my career. And so I started a while ago the International Seed Science Society, but it was just focused on seeds. And so we moved on to the International Science Nutrition Society. Life is difficult. It's beautiful, but it's difficult. And you go to experts and they tell you you're never going to get better, or they tell you you're fine when you're not fine. One or the other. It's your body, so when you're sick. So one of the things I've spent so many years in college studying science, from nanotechnology at Harvard to Cornell, like nutrition and also pharmacy. And I don't know the answers. I just know some of the answers. And I think that you guys have to know that if your body's telling you you're sick, you're sick. And it's important to find the answers. And if someone finds the answers in one thing and it doesn't work for you, then go to the next thing, but don't give up, because it's really important. You have the only body you're ever going to have. So you got to take as much time and energy and not feel guilty about it, but learn to support your body, and not just from doctors and scientists. You just have to love yourself enough never to give up. And sometimes that's hard when you're emotional. Another thing, whether you're a man or a woman, it's really hard not to give up sometimes, but you just have to keep going and find the answers. The answers might change. And you know this. You may do well on a treatment for a while and then it doesn't work. And that goes back to HIV, what I said about HIV. And that's how that whole treatment is. And they've all accepted that. Here's the issue with Lyme disease. Your HIV community has a list of things that work, that you can live 30, 40, 50 years and you're fine. And you've got major pharmaceutical companies behind this Lyme disease. We don't have that. I did a clothing line, which I worked on when I was at Harvard, which is using different types of nanotechnology that's infused to basically kill ticks and kill ticks around that surrounding area when you wear the clothing line. We use different types of silver and gold nanoparticles, as well as I infused different formulas in there of different orthosilic and aluminosilicates, as well as silver ions. So we use technology so it would be embedded into it. And then we're selling, if you want to wash the clothing, after you wash it 4 times, you're going to have to spray more on there so that's embedded again. And then you have to heat it. So there's like directions on it. When you kill bacteria, fungus proliferates. And I can tell you, so I'll give you an example. When you have parasites in the GI, if you have fungus, they breed because they love to live in the fungus. So if your body is fungus, I believe that spirochetes and everything just breeds and just keeps growing. So I think you've got to get rid of the fungus in your body. I'm just one of these, because I studied this for a while in my 20s. I think it's really important to get, fungus is one of the things that causes cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important, because otherwise you're taking an antibiotic, you're killing the bacteria, but the fungus proliferates, it grows. And it's one of the things I don't think they educate doctors on when they're in medical school, is that fact. Now, when you're in the pharmaceutical biotech on the science side, you know that. But I don't think routinely. So like I tell the pharmacy knows, if I have an antibiotic, I have to have an antifungal. Just me personally, but it does have to do with my knowledge scientifically about what happens in the body as well.
Right.
Your infectious disease doctors, a lot of them do.
I think everybody got to hear the rest of it. Okay, great. So let's go ahead and go on. So Dr. Christina ended with talking about fungus and parasites and bacteria. I thought that was very interesting. She talks about that often. And I want to say that I believe I was in Florida when I heard that like 90% of all autopsies have parasites and fungus.
Yep.
Which is basically the body shutting down. It's very interesting. And those are taking over. So, all right. Do you want to continue on screen sharing?
Yes. Can you guys see my screen?
It's loading. There we go.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay. So the immune system in biofilm. So Dr. Christina was talking about how it's difficult to get rid of spirochetes and how they hide and all of that, and how it comes back. It'll lay dormant and then it will come back. Oh yes. Okay. So we had a glioblastoma brain tumor support group, and they have many world-renowned surgeons who have found parasites and viruses in the tumor samples.
Yep.
We would love to actually talk to you, Nicole. Just let's make sure that we get in touch after this, because I can only see first names. So, okay. So, all right. So Lyme picks up a different targeted path in each person. It's extremely hard to treat, which we know. It's different than any other autoimmune disease. The bacteria that causes Lyme disease persists in the body and fights your early innate immune response. Spirochetes disseminate to immune privileged tissues within days of the tick bite. And again, that's where we heard days, but we're actually under the understanding that it's now hours.
It's now hours, yeah.
Yeah. So the University of New Haven shows in biopsies that Borrelia spirochetes that cause Lyme disease are resistant to treatment because they form a biofilm in the body, and it allows it to hide out from the antibiotics. The biofilm is a protective layer with a jelly-like slime that makes bacteria up to 1,000 times more resistant to antibiotics than other bacteria. The scientists found that the presence of Borrelia biofilm in human infected skin tissues, confirming that biofilm exists in the human body, which was published in the European Journal of Microbiology and Immunology. Really important to understand that all of the antibiotics that you are taking, if you are on Lyme, and I'm not saying they're not necessary, and I'm not saying not to take them, but that your body can be antibacterial resistant, antibiotic resistant, along with antibiotics, antibiotic against life. It's removing all of the good bacteria also. That's what is allowing the fungus and yeast and mold to overgrow in the body. We talk about stomach acid all of the time. And when you don't have stomach acid, that can allow candida and yeast and fungus to overgrow too.
Yep.
It's why a pre and probiotic within Relive Greens is really important. And we want to, and Clean Slate is something that takes care of the biofilm as well. So I'm going to continue on. So a biofilm is a complex aggregation of microorganisms growing on a solid substrate. Unlike the more familiar free-swimming bacterial forms, cells in biofilm surround themselves with a complex matrix, better known as slime, to protect the cells from the environmental stresses such as the attack of the immune system and the exposure to antibiotics. 80% of all chronic infections are associated with biofilm.
Yep.
That is important information. I feel like it's a similar percentage of doctors that likely don't know enough about biofilm to be well educated in how to address that.
Yep.
And I'm not saying none of them, but I'm saying the ones that I know, when I say the word biofilm, they don't understand what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And the team from ISNS, the International Science Nutrition Society, they do know what this is. They do. They know it, they validate it, they understand it, and they know how to remove it.
It's also very, very important. I know Dr. Christina talks about this, but I've known it for quite some time, that if you are on an antibiotic, it is imperative that you also take an antifungal.
Yes.
And then it's also imperative that whenever you're on both of those, that you take clean slate. And the reason is the antibiotic, if what it does kill, what's not hiding in the biofilm, what it does kill, it kills good bacteria too. That offsets gases like ammonia. It offsets a lot of heavy metals, a lot of toxins that what you're trying to get rid of, which is the parasites and everything, feed off of. So whenever they die, you have that. It also lowers your immune system. So whenever your immune system is low because of the antibiotics, your fungal infection will increase huge. That's why a lot of people, it's kind of funny that they give antibiotics for fungal infections, like a UTI, right? Because that's a candida infection, whenever you should be on an antifungal because it's a fungal infection, which is why I love Restore. Restore and Clean Slate are my go-to for UTIs, fungal infections, yes. Topical and internal. But then you need Clean Slate behind it, because Clean Slate is actually going to remove the toxins and the heavy metals that the parasites and the die-off produce. So a lot of people are on IV, and the other word is amect, and then an N. I can't say it, I'm sorry. Whenever you're on that, it's imperative to also be on Clean Slate, because as it kills off the parasites, you need Clean Slate to come behind and clean up all of the toxins that the parasites release, or else they will be recirculated and reabsorbed into the tissue itself. Then you get other autoimmune diseases that come along because of that toxicity being reabsorbed.
And this is why Dr. Christina has the entire protocol.
Yeah.
I know often people will say, well, if you could only take one thing. It's a protocol for a reason. It's a full protocol for a reason. And she developed it for her own Lyme for this reason. And it is a protocol. It's the full thing. So as you're killing things off, then you have to protect and support the body and take that out of the body too. It also helps to keep all of those detox pathways open. Mm-hmm. It's naturally killing off the virus, the bacteria, the parasites, the fungus, the yeast, venom. I mean, I feel like every time a new doctor comes out and says, oh, we figured this out, it's amazing, because when I look up the ingredients, I'm like, and that's covered.
Yep.
And we're good. We're good to go. So it's very important information. And she did all of this for a reason. So, okay. So I'm just going to finish up this slide really quickly. So Borrelia also has something called efflux pump.
Yep. You did it.
Borrelia also has something called the efflux pumps, which helps the Borrelia survive in any hostile environment. The efflux pumps push out heavy metals and other chemicals and can expel antibiotics before they've had a chance to work. So these are becoming antibiotic resistant. It's resistant because it's deep in the cell, it's intracellular, it's covered in biofilm, and it has this pump. And there's actually more to it. And next week's presentation is actually going to be more scientific and research. We really needed to get the foundational information down before we could move on to that. So we're going to cover that.
And it's so important, we couldn't just rush it.
No, no.
All righty. Nope.
So now we're going to cover some of the things we've talked about. We're going to cover a little more in depth. So the fungal role in Lyme. Fungus doesn't cause invasive infections in those that are healthy. A healthy body is not sick. We hear Clayton talk about this all the time. Will this protocol take care of X, Y, Z? Is it for me? Can I use it? A healthy body is not sick.
Right.
Healthy cells are not sick. A healthy gut is not sick. So these protocols are full body support, because when you take out the bad, it sounds just so simple. It is in a simplified form. You take out the bad and you support and protect the good. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And a healthy body is not sick. So fungal infections are rapidly becoming a cause of morbidity and mortality. Candida and Aspergillus account for up to 90% of fungal infections. This can be a two-way street. The suppression of the immune system can cause the explosion of mold and fungus and yeast in the body. But conversely, mycotoxins weaken the cell activity of the immune defense system. So you're getting hit by both sides. So just very quickly, what contributes to a fungal overgrowth in the body? Anything that is immunosuppression, the overuse of antibiotics and antibacterial, all of these antibacterial sprays and soaps and sanitizers, and we're just taking all of the natural bacteria that our body is supposed to build an immune system on. Remember when we used to go outside barefoot and play in mud and make mud pies? There's a reason why our immune systems were better all those years ago.
Well, your body has good biofilm too. There is good biofilm. You have a biofilm on your skin.
Yes.
It's made up of the bacteria in the environment, and it actually blocks the invasion of the pores of your skin. But if you're constantly washing your hands and using antibacterial, you're destroying the protective film, the protective biofilm that covers your skin to protect you from outside invasion. So there's good and there's bad.
Right. Same with your digestive system. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to have good bacteria in certain places. You're supposed to have good acid in certain places. Your body knows what it's supposed to be doing. We are the ones that are changing the environment of our body, and we are creating the problems. We're taking pills that lower the stomach acid. We're putting hand sanitizer on ourselves and on our kids, and it's just, we have to stop doing these things. There's a reason why think back to what your grandparents used to use, mm-hmm. and go with it.
Yep.
Highly recommend that. That's one of the things I'd love to think back to what my grandma used to do. Mm-hmm. All right. So cancer, and then the immunotherapy, chemotherapy drugs that are used during treatment, transplantation, again, immunosuppressive therapies, HIV, because the T cells are severely damaged, genetic conditions, even diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease because mm-hmm. the immune system dysregulation is due to the pancreatic problems. And then also stress, birth control, drugs that lower stomach acid. We just covered that. Toxins, heavy metals, carbs, sweets, and sugar. And then alcohol and fluoride. And when you have a fungal overgrowth, you have to be careful about fruit because it is a natural sugar, but you need to get rid of all of the sugars in your body to start getting a handle on the fungal aspect. And then you can add back in fruit. Watermelon is an amazing detoxification, regulates the pH of the body, helps with the lymphatic system. Fruit is wonderful, but if you're high candida, high yeast, high fungus, then you do have to remember that when you're starting out to take fruit into consideration.
Yes.
And then the parasite role in Lyme. One reason why many patients with Lyme find relief and then become ill again is due to not addressing the parasitic infections. And then if they are, then it's the die-off that's producing the endotoxins that create systemic inflammation, which creates all the symptoms. So again, when it's lying dormant or we're starting to kill things off and it's endotoxicity, it's the die-off, it's the gas, it's the poop.
Yep.
It's what's left behind from the things that we're killing off.
Yep.
Babesia is known to suppress the ability to clear parasites. So now we have bacteria and they are regrowing and repopulating and they're keeping the parasites from being killed off.
Yep. And
then it's all covered in biofilm and the parasites are eating the heavy metals, and it's why we can't, Shanna says it all the time. It's like going to the gym and saying, I'm just going to work one muscle.
Yep. You can't spot treat.
Right. You cannot spot treat your health. Right. Absolutely. So parasitic infections can hold their weight in bacteria, mold, virus, heavy metals, and Lyme co-infections. Parasites can be in the digestive tract, but also in the brain and hiding behind biofilm. Without parasites eradicated, the body will continually be reinfecting itself with more Lyme, more co-infections, more parasites, more die-off, more bacteria, more viruses, more heavy metals, more toxicity.
Yes, and that's how it retoxifies your body. Because if you think the parasitic infection, which, and it holds the bacterias, which part of that is the Lyme bacterias. It holds the molds, the heavy metals. You kill those off. If you don't have something coming along to remove that stuff, it's going to retoxify in the body and you're creating other issues. So this is one big reason why you have to do it. You have to listen to somebody who knows and created it. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it.
Right.
Even doctors don't know. They just go off of what the scientists tell them.
Well, that's true, because what's their very first thing that they do? Here is your antibiotic. Here's your doxycycline, right? And again, I'm not saying not to take it, and I'm not saying that it doesn't work. What I'm saying is that, do they understand that in addition to an antibiotic that is supposed to take care of a bacterial problem, that's fine, but do they understand how it's hiding in the cell? Do they understand that we have to knock down the biofilm as well? Do they know that now the parasites aren't being taken out of the body either, and we have to address that? Do we know that there's die-off? So these are all really good questions. When you go to see your doctor, you need to have this list of questions and say, what am I taking that is not only killing the spirochetes and the babesia, and the borrelia, but what's taking care of the rest? There's a whole list of things that we need to be taking care of. Can you please assure me that we are taking care of all of these things? Mm-hmm. Because remember, Dr. Christina used to be in Big Pharma, and she used to work for Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, and she knows how each of those works. She was just convinced that there was a way to do it naturally, that there were natural products. Pharmaceuticals actually take natural products and make them into pharmaceuticals. Yep. She just knew that you could take the natural products and just use them naturally. Yep. Natural curcuminoids, black seed oil, resveratrol, apple cider vinegar, aloe vera. She knew that when you put these in a certain formulation, and it took her 6 years to make the clean slate alone. Yep. And then she started on Restore, and she went back to school and back to get an additional certification on how to do the quantum nano emulsion technology to make sure that it worked in the body bioavailably. Yep. So I think we should probably just stop on this screen, because I know we have a few more that we were hoping to cover, but we're down to the end. And I know people always want the solutions. They always want us to cover the solutions. And I think we should cover those now, knowing that even next week we're going to have a lot of the research. So if you are interested in the research, then come back next week and we're going to deep dive into that. But if you're understanding what Dr. Christina is talking about, you can go back and watch that video. It's also in the group. I think Laura actually put it in the comments for us, thank you, Laura. So watch that whole video and understand where she comes from and why she made the protocols. So if that's something that you don't want to wait a week to get started on, it's fine. Our group runs through a referral system. So somebody brought you here to our group. They invited you because they cared enough about you to bring you here. You can reach out to that person. If you don't know who that person is, ask in the comments. We will hook you up with them. Shanna and I will make sure that you are, covered and supported. The Detox Girls community is the kind of support you get every single week. We bring you the education, the research. This is for our community. We are starting a website, so other communities can have access to our information and education as well. But we are here to support our community. So this is all by Root Wellness. It does require a referral code. That's why you need the support person. It's clean slate, which is what addresses the biofilm and the it's antibacterial, antifungal, antimicrobial, antiviral. So that it gives you a clean slate. She named it for that reason. So it removes and eradicates the bad, and it gives you a clean slate. And then you pop in there and then you add on the next step, which is the restore. That has all of the things I just listed, the curcuminoids. So it's anti-inflammatory. The black seed oil is anti-parasitic. The apple cider vinegar and aloe vera is amazing for the digestive system. So it really hits it all at a cell, and both of those products are at a cellular level. And then because we know that Lyme affects the cognitive function in the brain, then we add in Zero In to support the cognitive function, neurotransmission support, also digestive support in that. And then because malnutrition can cause the body to not be healthy, especially at a cellular level. And now we've learned that Lyme, those bacteria are depleting us of those nutrients. So it's more important than ever that we have a product that gives us everything we could possibly need all in 1 teaspoon. You know, if you need more because that's what your body needs, you can take more than 1 teaspoon a day, but it comes in a small bottle and you only need a little. It's so concentrated, but it has vitamins, minerals, amino acids, omegas, pre and probiotics. What am I missing?
Pre and pro. You said amino acids.
I did. I said amino acids, omegas. Oh, it has coconut oil, which I think in my brain I was thinking I wanted to bring up the MCT coconut oil, but that's in next week's research. That's okay.
We got a lot of good stuff that we're going to have next week.
Chlorella is in that list. Spirulina, some algae. There's so much good stuff in there. It's
your whole multivitamin.
Right. It replaces your multivitamin.
Replaces your multivitamin.
If you're headed to Sam's Club and you're buying a vitamin, first of all, please turn your package over. What's in the first 3 or 4 ingredients? It's almost always sugar, some sort of food dye, maltodextrin, which is corn, which is inflammatory. This is all natural. And there's an hour-long video. If you want to learn about each of these products, there's literally an hour-long video on each product, which will break it down so in depth, presented by a doctor or a scientist. If you would rather have one video that covers all 5, Dr. Dory was nice enough to do that in the Fantastic 5 or the Fab 5. We have it all in our group. We have guides. We have everything you could ever need. So just
Dr. Christina, I'm dropping a video of Dr. Christina talking about her protocol. It should drop in about half an hour. That's going to be really important because she goes over why she created each of them for her Lyme and what they do. And there's actually a process that she created while doing it that helps it be effective for Lyme and autoimmune diseases that she did specifically with seeds and a few different things, and also removed a few things that would cause toxicity. So it's going to be really important to listen to her talk about that. So it will drop in about 30 minutes. I believe I titled it Dr. Christina's Personal Protocol. So
wonderful. Yeah, that's important. Really important. And we will try to put that in the comments here too. I know sometimes it's difficult to find things in the group. Don't forget, we've got a search bar at the top. You can search whatever ails you. We work less on, I think one of the things we didn't cover today that we wanted to, and because Dr. Dory's not on, I'm going to stick here and cover that. When you receive a diagnosis, please understand that is a label for your symptoms. It's in order to give you an ICD-10 code, which is a diagnosis code to give you a prescription, because they have to be linked up. So you receive a diagnosis, which they match up with all of the procedures or prescriptions that you're given. And there's a whole system to that, but it doesn't matter so much the diagnosis. It matters. This is why at the beginning we were talking about asking to be clinically diagnosed. So even if you have a false positive, can I be clinically diagnosed with Lyme? Can we start that protocol? But if you don't have a doctor that's willing to work with you, Dr. Christina is a doctor. She doesn't take on singular patients, but she presents from ISNS, from a scientific standpoint and a personal standpoint, all of these products, what they do from a natural standpoint, why she formulated them, how she formulated them. And so I challenge anybody to go to a doctor's office visit and get somebody that spends not only an hour explaining it to you, but an hour for each of the products, what the ingredients are, how they work, her own personal protocol. We can give you hours and hours and hours of research and presentations. You name it, we pretty much have a presentation on it. So if you're looking for something, please, before you ask for it, use our search bar in the group and use the search bar there. We really encourage you guys. We love to give help. We love to research, but we do encourage you guys and empower you guys to please learn to use the tools that we've given you. Watch them. Oh, puppy. Okay, we're over.
No, keep going.
No, we're over. Show
He
us
was
puppy.
whining. I had to pick him up.
Show us puppy.
Oh. This is Sully.
Look at puppy.
I'm puppy sitting. He's
So
9
cute.
weeks old.
Yes.
He was whining and wanted to be. Oh, I think he's got to go potty. That's
Okay.
why.
Well, the good news is we are done. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here every Tuesday. We're hooking up our YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube. If you saw this on YouTube, make sure you come to our Detox Girls. thedetoxgirls.com is our website. We are working diligently, hours on end, getting all of the information up there. So there's some sneak peeks and some good stuff, so you can start to check it out. If something is not clickable, we know. Trust me, we're working on it day and night. But our Facebook group is also here for you. So make sure that you are, using the search bar, using the guides, using the YouTube channels. And if you can't find it, then go ahead and comment for us, and we will get you what you need. And the person that invited you to the group is actually a good person to reach out to also, because they know how to use our group also. So, all right, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for putting up with our little glitches on our video. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.